Okay. If we moved all of our stuff to go down to St. George, we've got to move everything back into place. Everything's scawampus.
Yeah.
All right. We are live. Athletes, listeners, viewers, all those in between. Welcome to One-on-One with Coach Blue. And as backup and co-host, right? Marissa Robinson, our athletic director.
Hello, everyone.
You just got back from your power walk. I got back from my training run.
Yeah.
I tried to catch you. You guys were walking too fast.
We walk.
Man, you guys
fast.
are booking.
Me and the dog, Hero.
I thought for sure because of Hero, you'd be slowed down, but I think she was probably pulling you to the reservoir to get into the lake.
I had to unhook her and she just ran, jumped right in.
She's like, did she go to the same spot? I love it. She goes to the same spot away from everybody. It's the best.
We're not live.
It says we are. And I can see myself on the video.
On Facebook?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Then my internet's just slow, I guess.
Yeah, we've been having internet problems.
Yes, we are. There we are.
So nonetheless, welcome everybody. It's good to have you here. I want to thank everybody for jumping on, listening. Thank you for downloading, sharing, and subscribing to the podcast. If you are so inclined and you want to give us a review, it would be so beneficial. It helps
please.
so much.
Thank you for all of the other reviews we've been given.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
As usual, we want to promote our website for all the addiction recovery content. Marissa's done an excellent job dissecting all of our podcasts into categories and whatnot. So if you're looking for a specific episode that you've heard that you want to share, go through our website and provide the link that way. It'd be easier for you than scrolling through almost 200 plus
we're almost
episodes.
At 200.
We're over 200 now.
Well, I think we're like 180 or something.
Well, that's what the other ones. Yeah, no, we're there. So the other part too is our online store, trail running shirt. Thank you, Josh Hansen, for our logo designs.
Jerseys.
Marissa's got her jersey on.
Team jerseys, tank tops, lots of
stuff. Our 10-year anniversary champion shirt will be pulled here soon. So jump on and grab that. And we have some awesome logos for the 4th of July coming up. So if you're going to be running a 4th of July run, jump on and check out our new logo that Josh Hansen provided for us, kind of a patriotic theme. Yeah.
Yes, I will get that up.
He's gotten several and they're so great. It's hard to choose from.
Yeah. But we've got some amazing other gear and lots of cool
my hat
stuff.
One of our athletes actually stitched my hat.
Yes.
It was kind of a funny thing. He's like, wait a minute, I know this logo.
I didn't even know he was working there. I was like, well, that is Coach Blue's.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny. He's like full circle there.
Yeah.
So yeah, nonetheless, drop shipping available. Now that the pandemic seems to be winding down.
Yeah. And I know currently they're a little behind on some shipping. I guess, I don't know what happened. They work with many, like thousands and thousands of companies, and they just had a big company start. So I'm sorry if you have an order and it is behind. They're trying to get caught up, and I hope that this doesn't happen in the future. If
you have received an Addict Athlete shirt or something that you've ordered, get some pictures up. We want to see you in your gear. I'd love to see you where you're wearing it. We have people that have gotten this stuff in England. Yep. Right, Australia. There's Japan.
Yeah.
So I mean,
back east, with quite a few different people.
Let's see where
we just recently had an order come in from California. People I don't know, but thank you for ordering our stuff, and please share it.
Share it, absolutely. Let's get some kudos out there, Team Addict Athlete. We have so much on our calendar. It seems as though 2020 is a distant memory. 2021 in full swing. We've got all kinds of activities. We've got events coming up.
Yeah.
This coming month in June. Myself and whoever else wants to join me will be participating in the 4x4x48 David Goggins Challenge. Mm-hmm. And roughly it's 4 miles you'll run or walk every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Yep.
Right?
4 miles. 4 miles.
4 hours.
Yeah, every 4 hours. So 4 miles per hour.
4 miles.
For 48 hours.
48 hours. We are doing this specifically to fundraise for our Sober Coach program. We have several sober coaches and many more out there, hopefully, that want to become certified to open a chapter of Addict Athlete, to go through our 40-hour training. And it's rather costly. It costs Addict Athlete to host it. It costs time. Marissa and I have talked to you briefly, maybe ever so eloquently about not getting some of these grants we're going out for, but that can't stop us from moving our mission forward. And so we're asking for your help.
We currently have, well, I don't know. I always count wrong. Like 9 chapters in Utah, 3 outside of Utah, but there's quite a bit of interest to have other places get one of our chapters going. And some places and people have the funds to do that, and some do not, really need the resources. And
we thought about this.
We want to share it too.
We thought about this for a long time. And as much as I would like to just open it up free of charge, it costs us to host the thing.
Yeah. It costs us lots and lots of time to even, we become a resource to everyone, and we do ongoing trainings and CEUs. And it's
even our platform to host it.
Yes. And it's time consuming. And so we can't continue to do it for free, but we want to get it out there as well. So please help us be able to spread this by donating to this 4x4x48 so that we can get more chapters open and more people trained.
And right now we have several in rural communities that need this, and that's our first stop. And
we have 5 rural communities in Utah that don't have many other resources that are able to provide an Addict Athlete chapter with weekly meetings and support for the recovery community in their area. And we want to get more. Which
is interesting too. And some of you listeners have heard a little bit about some of the stress that we put ourselves through putting together grants and whatnot. And there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through for those. And that's great. The problem is that when it comes down to the action-oriented grant funding, I'm finding it pull up very short.
Yeah.
We went out for grants that we haven't got, and not saying that we're bitter, but when we see the recipients of the grants conversing for hours and months on font they want to use for a handout they want to give to a kid at a football game, it's really...
Well,
messed up.
I've just seen how many times, grant money is being utilized in weird ways. And, it's frustrating to me when grant money goes to a billboard or it goes to a stress ball that they hand out when we do daily hands-on programming. And it's frustrating. Like, I know of many things, but one being a big long-term to-do about what font to use for a drug-free zone at a school. I'm like, does that really matter? I don't know if any kid that sees a drug-free zone and thinks, oh, I better put this weed away.
I'm not going to drug-free zone.
I'm not going to use this here.
That old mentality is done with. And so with our Sober Coach program, it's hoping to get people that are interested in giving back to their communities certified, 40-hour training to become certified to not only open a chapter of Addict Athlete if they so please, but also to become a resource in their own community from their own training.
Yeah.
And so the Recovery and Sober Coach program, it's very invested. We just had our yearly CEU update meeting, and
one of our trainings,
and we've got them doing some stuff for the team behind the scenes. And my gosh, what a great thing. So this 4x4x48 will be June 20th and June 21st, the first day of summer. The longest day of the year will be literally chasing the sun. So if you'd like to donate, or if you'd like to start your own donation campaign, this is a great way for you, if you want to become a certified sober coach, to fundraise for your training.
Absolutely.
We talk about this a little bit, but not so much to the public at large, that it doesn't need to come all at once. If you're fundraising and you're doing things, all you need to do is touch base with us so that you can have this.
We can figure out
resource.
ways.
We can get creative. That's what it's all about. But we were just thinking that if we wait for the troops to come, we're going to get stranded. And so we have to do this ourselves. And so this is where you come in and hopefully inspire and promote and help this fundraising effort.
I will also, while you're talking, get the link to add if you would like to start your own fundraiser for Addict Athlete. We would greatly appreciate it, whether it is for a Sober Coach or just a fundraiser for our program. Facebook is the best platform because 100% of the donations come to us, and you don't have to pay the processing fees. Neither do we. Facebook does that. There's also a link if you are listening to this on podcast form on our website. If you go to our donate button, there's a link for the Facebook fundraiser, and you can start a fundraiser there. And I love it when I get on Facebook and see that somebody's created a birthday fundraiser.
It's amazing
for us. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you guys, even if it is, $5, $10, like that money really does help. And we are grateful for it.
Absolutely. I mean, this year alone, we've been able to sponsor many athletes to come out and do some runs and some events because last year was so devastating.
Yeah.
Some of them have lost jobs and lost situations to where they can't justify spending money for a race entry or for, shoe jersey or for shoes. That's where this goes. The minor league, all that stuff. Your guys' donations helped
last year. Oh my gosh. We were able to help athletes that struggled with being able to pay for groceries, and we were able to
during
buy
groceries.
The pandemic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of your donations really get in there and can really make an impact, I promise.
And as much as I don't want to think about it right now, our Project Elf in December for Christmas, that is has become the hub of what Addict to Athlete can do. And each year we have a number that we're going to try and put a limit of, but we always surpass that. So this is just a little way for us to not only keep this program moving forward, but help individuals and communities increase their recovery programs. We're lucky in Utah. I say this all the time. We have so many programs that are competing for attention, and I love it.
Yeah,
I really do love it. It helps us around every corner for everyone. Addicts Fighting Back and Addicted We Stand, and Recovery Strong, all these programs,
Fit to Recover. There's a lot of them.
There's so many. So, BAM is another one I've seen recently. Yes. There's so many, but the cool part about it is it takes a village, right? Yeah. And it takes a team. And so we're hoping that this, 4x4x48 in June will be one that you'll want to do. We're going to open this up to our international team that Coach Clark and myself started. And so our international runners all over the world, we invite you to participate in this. We'll be sending you guys out a special link. If you want to become an international sponsored runner, information can be found on.
We have a special jersey for that.
Yep.
And
on our, our Facebook page, right?
For the international team.
Yeah.
It's Addict to Athlete. We are Superman International Team.
Yep. So if you want to be part of that, jump on and we will get you going. Did you hear that TIE fighter swoop down and almost shoot me? Let's get rid of that one.
Really though, like I can't thank you guys enough. All of you who donate, who help us. Your money, I know mostly this last year has been tight, and anyone that's able to donate anything, we just are so grateful. Like, I don't know how.
Well, speaking of that, because I think it's a great version and a great experience, because I feel like we're giving something back. Let's thank our Patreon subscribers, our super fans. We have Jerem Thurston, Holly Davies, Scott Foster, Coach Chris Williams, Brett Frew. We got Coach Tara Butson, Steve Riggs, and the Warrior Within podcast and personal development by Sensei KP. I told you he sent me through some stuff, and it's been good.
And Chelsea Olsen.
And the one and only Chelsea Olsen, who just ran Addict to Athlete 2 weeks ago, and it was awesome. She did a great one. Our rookie level subscribers, thank you so much, Kenny Roseman, Earl Dyer, and Joe Jackson. You guys are all near and dear to my heart.
Thanks, guys.
Our pro level, Selena Armitage, Gary Thurston, and the one and only Josh Hansen. Right? Thanks so much, Josh. Again, all these logos you're seeing come from that guy. So thanks so much, Josh. And the championship level subscribers. This is the top tier. These folks are donating quite a bit to Team Addict to Athlete, and my heart just is full of love for these folks.
Yeah,
especially because Shad and Freya Robinson and the Robinson family, and Emma, who is our Athlete of the Month.
Athlete of the Month, Emma Robinson.
Emma Robinson.
Please go to any of our social media and we tell her story. But Emma is 10 years old and was born addicted to many, many substances and has quite a few disabilities due to that. And her wonderful parents adopted her and give us the opportunity to help her race by letting our athletes loan their legs to her. We years ago raised money to buy a Hoyt racing chair for her. And I can't even put it into words what she does for our athletes.
Rumblings of us doing that again.
Yeah.
So keep in tune. But yes, thank you so much, and congratulations to little Emma. Ron and B. Loesch as a championship level subscriber, and of course Tracy Whippy. Thank you all so much. Tracy just ran the Freedom Run with the athletes.
Yeah, I
on
think
Memorial
that was her
Day.
first race with us.
Yeah,
right.
She looks very fresh coming across the line. I saw Savannah.
Awesome.
Rich took some photos and saw her there.
We were out of town and couldn't make that race, but thank you for all of you who showed up to that.
And if you want to become a Patreon subscriber for bonus episodes, exclusive offers, merchandise, jump on patreon.com/addictathlete. Pick a tier that works for you. $2 a month can give you all the bonus episodes, which we will be recording tonight. I have a opportunity to go speak to some young men and young women who are
for a religious group.
And I'm going to be talking a little bit about being mindful of those who are kind of in the dark and how to kind of reignite the light. So I thought that might be a special Patreon episode. So I'll record that tonight and we'll post that tomorrow for all you Patreon subscribers. And thank you so much. All right, Marissa, that's enough groveling, but we should say that we also have our race that's now open in September. So
we have our annual 5K. The registration is now open. It's on Race Entry, but you can also go to our website. There's a link. $10 gets you a bib and 3 wristbands. And then you can also purchase a shirt for more than that if you would like. We will have a local race that will be meeting on Labor Day to run. And then you can also do it virtually. So please join us so that we can bring, Recovery Month to the forefront of everyone's mind. This is a recovery from mental illness and addiction and those who are still struggling.
Yeah, it's very needed. And maybe on that note, I'll start with this. Last week, while we were preparing to get the kids wrapped up for school and school was coming to a close, and we were going to make a quick trip down to southern Utah, St. George area to visit some family and just, go enjoy some of the heat, right? I received a Facebook message from a very near and dear friend of mine whose family has been riddled with addictions and unfortunately overdoses. Years ago, well over 11, 12 years ago, I worked with the young man at a youth treatment center that I worked at the time. And, he had a heart size, solid gold, just amazing, lived back east. Came to treatment as a young man, was kind of at the cusp of becoming an adult. And so he wasn't there for too long, but was there long enough to establish some roots. When he returned home, it was a little bit rocky, but he actually ended up joining the military. And joined the Marines. And I was blown away by that. And I talked to him ever so often. And then about 10 years ago, I received word that on a visit home, on leave from the military, he'd bumped into some old acquaintances and had an overdose and passed away of a heroin overdose. This to me was one of the beginning, situations of the opiate pandemic.
When you were first, really started being touched by it.
Years later, during our Hope 62 run, which was 2018?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. We were just crossing over the Utah-Juab County line, and I received a message from this individual's mother once more, explaining to me that her second son had passed away of a drug overdose just hours before she'd reached out. That made 2 of her 3 boys that succumbed to addiction. She came out too 2016 and started our 5K. She did
led the moment of silence and started it.
Yeah. And then last Thursday, as we're getting ready to get things going and get packed up to go, I received devastating word that her 3rd and final son passed away of another drug overdose. And I'm telling you, I was shook. She'd lost all 3 of her boys, her whole family, all 3 of her boys.
All of her children.
Gone. And I messaged her expressing my condolences, and those never do justice.
Not at all.
She's been a significant part of Addict to Athlete back east. You guys probably don't know, but she's donated a lot of time.
Her family
and her community, her
have
family
helped and supported us.
And I said to her, I said, this feels weird. This is insulting. This is not okay for your family to have suffered this kind of loss and this kind of beating. And there's got to be something we can do to help. She messaged me yesterday and explained that she's going to his wake today and funeral on Thursday, and that she had planned a camping trip with some family, and that when she gets back, she'll get in touch with me. But
you can talk
I'm
about
gutted.
Some ideas.
I'm gutted because this is, and I remember all three of these boys. You know, when I was working with the first young man that introduced me to the family, the last son was just a little guy.
Little kid.
And this seems really wrong. Something's really wrong. And so
people always say parents should never have to bury their child, but to have to bury all of your children from the same disease of addiction is horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
I can't do this alone. I'll need you as the team to help me with this. But what I'd like to do is for you to send your own thoughts and your own wishes and your own condolences. And maybe we could start a post on our page, maybe even underneath this link here, so that we can get it to the Fitzgerald family, and so that we can show her that she's not alone and that her team's behind her. But then I think we need to start getting a little bit more loud. It doesn't seem like much is letting up. A lot of people talk about, well, we want to advocate recovery. We want to advocate. We're done advocating. We know there's a problem. So when people are doing things to advocate for a certain cause, it's like, stop talking, let's do something about it. We need to start doing something about this, because again, we say it every year, we lose hundreds and hundreds of people a day.
Yeah.
No one cares. You and I just watched a documentary on the opiate epidemic on HBO Max that Josh had actually kind of said, talking about the Sackler family. And the more that I hear about this, the more pissed I get, because they knew that their drugs and their medication was harmful, and the cringy, sales tactics that they used. We've got to stop advocating and start doing, because this family is just one of probably thousands that needs our help.
Yeah. And we really do need to mourn with these people, and do more. On this note as well, do you want to talk about Overdose Awareness Day?
Yeah, but before we do that, I just had a thought. Yeah. Okay, athletes, this is what we're going to do to show solidarity. And I don't even have her permission, but I don't think she'll mind. But this week, will each of you donate at least 1 mile per son that she lost? Running a mile for Dennis, running a mile for Richie, and running a mile for Kevin.
Yeah.
If you guys could do that, and maybe keep the family in your heart, maybe there's something that will be felt. Maybe there'll be something we can get some more attention to the family that needs a little bit of push. I mean, why keep surviving now? What's there? But maybe the team becomes part of the family. So maybe we all do a 5K, 3 miles, 1 for Dennis, 1 for Richie, and 1 for Kevin.
Yeah.
I would greatly appreciate that. Document it, put your pictures up, do what you can. But let's do that this week to show a little bit of solidarity for some athletes and some teammates that you've never met. But right now they're going through the worst tragedy I think any family.
Unimaginable pain.
You almost think that, I've read stories about families that have lost their sons in war, and they've all gone out to fight this battle. And the heroes welcome they get. What about Dennis, Richie, and Kevin? If we could do that, I think maybe it'll show that there's still some humanity left, and that it'll send the message to the family that we may not know them directly, but we mourn with them.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do that for the
Fitzgerald family.
And then I look forward to speaking with Joan a little bit. This is a hard one, all three. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine. There's got to be some kind of message that comes out of this mess. Maybe it's that we love and we support our team. That being said, athletes will turn our attention to Overdose Awareness Month. It's rapidly approaching in August.
August 31st is Overdose Awareness Day.
And we will be heavily involved with Amber Balm to help this. We weren't able to do it last year because of the pandemic, and it was virtual, and it was very just kind of in passing. But
yeah, they did a kind of a drive-through thing, but Amber does such a phenomenal job with this and has always made it such an impactful day, and in memory of her daughter who she lost to a heroin overdose. And it's big, and we want to continue to support her and support Overdose Awareness Day for the Fitzgeralds and for everyone else out there who has lost a loved one.
Yeah, we'll be involved in that, and we'll be doing our run up to the Capitol to finish at 7 p.m. on the money. And so more information on that will come, but we need to be aware that the epidemic isn't over. COVID has definitely suppressed some of the situational issues that were in the mainstream media. But COVID has actually increased, substance use, overdose, and rates of substance use. So we've got a couple steps forward and then like 20 steps backwards. So we need to do this not just for our own communities, but for our own sobriety, for our own healing process, and then to start flexing a little bit more muscle. We just had an amazing conversation with Brad Daw, who is one of our legislators, state legislators. Although he's not in my district anymore, he's still a good friend, and
we've known him for years.
Yeah, very much an advocate for addiction and addiction recovery. Absolutely. And MAT.
He's pushed a lot of the legislature to help with expanding Medicaid and getting services to those coming out of prison and jail.
So they need your voices and they need your action. He talked about when people have good ideas and things that they can see to improve a system, that a lot of times they just will sit on that.
Or they don't know where to go or to turn. And
so let's stop advocating and let's start doing. Let's get a resource to find your local legislator.
And we have a podcast with him.
Yes, we do. And public to start service. Advocating for this in a way that brings real change, not just attention to an issue, but let's start solving these things. Because the Fitzgerald family is no different than anybody else's, and so let's put in the 3 miles for Dennis, for Richie, and for Kevin. Yeah. Please post below a little bit. Maybe we'll get a whole another page going with this, like a post or something we can pin, because I want to really just show the family how much team they have and how much love and prayers on their behalf. I mean, I know people think that's kind of a cliche thing, but they work. Prayers do work. So. My goodness.
Joe Jackson said he'll run first thing tomorrow.
Thank you, Joe.
For the Fitzgeralds.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Claire in England.
In England. See, it's begun. Athletes, it's a team. And I think if we're going to make a difference, we've got to do it together. I'm just heartbroken by that. I mean, I just don't get it. Her whole family, she said that too. If you don't mind, maybe I'll share what she said, because
I think it's good timing.
I think it's poignant, and I think it kind of brings into the reality that this issue is not over. She messaged me on the 27th and said the unmanageable has happened. My dear sweet Kevin had passed away, most likely from an accidental overdose. He passed in California after being home for several months and having spent the last 2 in treatment. Blue, all 3 of my sons are gone. And I said, this is devastating news, and I cannot begin to understand what you're going through. I said, it really feels like an attack on your family, and I'm here to help you and Steve where I can. And then she said that his funeral's coming up and that she'll contact me once all that's done. Heavy-hearted with that, all three. I mean, that last line, you know. So athletes, we're not done yet, and there's a lot more that needs to be done. That way, some of the fundraising we're doing for the Sober Coach programs in these rural communities is so important. There's a lot that we still get to do, not have to, that we get to do. So let's start erasing and replacing. Let's turn the mess into the message, and let's get things moving. Yeah, you got some questions over there because I'm still kind of in a...
I do, but Chelsea's here. I think she has a question. I'll move her over and see if she does. And then I have some other questions as well.
Okay. Heavy. Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Hey, Chelsea.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah. Loud and clear.
Wow, you put me on right after all that.
Yeah, that was rough. I'm sorry.
My kids are loud. I just, as you know, I have some trauma and stuff due to my ex-husband. And I often will find myself going out in public and like, I'll see a man and I'll kind of double take thinking it's him, which kind of shows me that fear is still there. It's still strong. But the other night I went to the gas station, and as I was walking past the window, I looked in the window and it was him. And the thing is, the board of pardons, they're supposed to notify me if he's gonna see the board.
Right.
And it's just really frustrating because, you know, I double lock my doors. I double lock my windows. But my son, he's getting older. I can't protect him all the time. And I don't know, I kind of feel like a sense of failure because I thought processing all of this stuff in treatment finally would have helped with this fear that just seems so significant. But it's still so there.
Yeah. So the Board of Pardons was supposed to have informed you, and they did not.
This is the second time. They did it last year.
It sounds like there was this lesson that I heard a couple weeks ago about the blind side. I don't know. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
How'd that feel? Feel like you got blindsided?
Oh yeah. I ran to my truck.
Yeah. Since then, where's your heart? Where's your mind been? Because you got hit. You got hit from behind. You didn't see it coming. But now what? Are we still laying on the field? Are we afraid to get up? Or are we taking it by the horns and saying, okay, now that I know that is the potential, I'm keeping my eye open, but I'm going to keep playing. I mean, where are you at?
I'm angry, and that anger has resulted into action-based plans. You know, just I sat Colton down, and I always keep it age appropriate.
Yeah.
He knows that man hurt his mommy very badly. Yeah. He asked me how, and I said that's not something that I can talk to you about right now. Maybe if you come and ask me again when you're older, we'll reach that bridge when we get there. But just making sure he's aware, you know, and we're getting him a phone.
Good.
Flip phone, by the way. No internet.
I love it. Chelsea, that's what you're doing now, right? You got hit on the blind side. You're pulling your team together. You're huddling up and you're like, look, you guys, that came in the back door over there. I got hit from the side. We've got to reevaluate. So you bring in your son and you're like, look, this is a situation. And he's not dumb. He knows, you know, and then you give him the gear that he needs to, like, you know, not just the chances of anything happening are extremely slim. But why not be prepared? The chances of you getting blindsided again, say, I talk to Max Hall all the time. The chance of him getting hit again after his line let somebody through is almost zero, because they're going to be watching now. But they're prepared nonetheless. They're not taking their guard down. So really what you're doing is you're getting yourself up. You're like, that sucked. And now you're like preparing yourself. I love the fact that you identified anger as a motivator and not as something that crippled you, because people do that. They use anger to cripple them and then to justify wanting to relax by relapse.
Yeah.
Chelsea, you're taking a whole different bridge. I love it. You're taking a whole different bridge. Everything you're doing right now, you're doing with a calculated mindset, and you're preparing yourself. We can't safeguard ourselves from everything, but you can do your best to make sure that your team's prepared for the next play. And I love it. This is I hate to say this, and this might seem, God, Blue, you're kind of a jerk, but like, it's the best thing that could happen to you right now, because look at where you are emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically. You have the capacity to be able to do this. It sucks that it happened this way. And it sucks that the people in charge forgot, or as I like to say, just don't care. Because it's what it is. I mean, it doesn't take much to do your job, but I've seen time in and time out when people get complacent in their jobs, they let things slide. And then it's oh crap, we should have, could have, would have. They didn't. So you're doing everything, in my eyes, absolutely right. The only thing I'm worried about is, okay, what do we do with the energy of, right?
So you don't let the emotion of it.
Mm-hmm. Where do we channel that? Because safeguarding your team is great, but now you're going to have a little bit of adrenaline. Again, I'll refer back to Max Hall. When Max got hit first, the beginning stages of him losing his career, he should have stayed down on the ground. But his family was there. It was the first time he was in. He popped back up too fast and waved everybody off like he was okay, and he pretended he was okay, and he wasn't. And then that's what got him hit again and again, and then it ended. So what are we doing with this energy? Where are we channeling it, right? And so, the old stuff about going out and making sure you get your run in or get your extra, that's great. But there's more, because that's not going to be enough to burn off this energy. What else do you have in your arsenal?
I'm going to be setting up. I told Marissa I need to set up an individual for a couple of reasons. Because you're right. Like, I've been taking it out on everyone around me.
It's because you're scared. It's okay. They don't know that, but that's why it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And
you come too far to lose it all. So I get it.
And that's it. Like, I feel like my accomplishments in the life that I've created is being threatened. And to find out, when I started making calls, like, what's wrong with you people? Where is he at? I'm supposed to know these things. He's in Provo. Like, he's right there. So,
the good part about this too is I'm glad. You do. You need to come in and get coached, right? You need to come in, take a seat on the bench and do some counseling. We'll get you through it. Maybe even some EMDR, stuff that works, to push the trauma back where it's supposed to be. But also to reinforce the fact that you're not alone this time either. Like, you have a lot more, and the cool thing about that too is that, as you've grown and changed, he doesn't know how strong you are or who you have in your corner anymore. So if fate happened to, stance that you guys are, in the same grocery store and reach for the same gallon of milk, you have a team behind you, and so it's about buoying yourself up, and creating that balance, so that when the blind side is, I guess, there's a potential of it
coming again,
that you're already aware that there's a risk there. So I think that there's a lot we can do for you. I'm glad that you still trust in the process to even ask for help. That's a big deal.
And another thing I worry about is there's just still so much anger there. And I honestly worry that if that were to happen, reaching for the same gallon of milk, we were to bump into each other, it's going to take every inch in my bones to not do something bad. Like,
not react. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to be able to respond and not react.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
think that's kind of the cool thing. I think that a lot of people are in that same, I guess, mindset with other issues, you know? And so you're bringing up a good point. I love the fact that you're willing to come in and receive the coaching though, you know, and like say, well, thought I had all this kind of wrapped up, but it looks like there's some rough edges. I want these taken care of. So let's do this. It's a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool though, too, because you get to flex a little bit of muscle, right? Because you didn't resort to old behaviors. You didn't go and hide. You prepped your team. You let people in. This is awesome. You're identifying what it really is. Behind that anger is even something deeper. You know this.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone says anger is a secondary emotion. And I believe in most cases it is, but there's a lot of time it's not. Like that anger that you had created an action. So if we can learn to have anger become our friend and guide us to what it's trying to tell us, instead of just being the get off my lawn guy, that'd be the answer to the finals. That's what you're preparing to do, right?
Well, yeah, it justified my addiction for 10 years.
Yeah, it did.
I'm not letting it do that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. How much better does it feel now knowing that instead of going out and ignoring the issue by using, you've prepped your team for the just in case scenario?
Yeah.
Which is better.
It does feel better.
Yeah. Doesn't take away the fear and the anxiety, but this is your community too. And if you're going to live in it and that person's going to live in it, there's some rules they're going to have to abide to. And if they don't, well, then the consequences will fall there.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad. Have you scheduled something yet, or are you going to?
I'm going to next week.
Okay. I like it.
I think it's also important in something like this to look to your higher power, you know, look for that, understanding, guidance, comfort, peace, support from, you know, something bigger than you, something larger.
Which is what I've been lacking a lot lately. So maybe that's where my focus needs to be right now.
Yeah.
I think it would help a lot.
I love it because that's who you're there for right there. Right. Yeah. Let's get you going, kiddo. You've got my support. Let's get you where you feel like you've got a little bit more direction. Okay. Yeah. You got blindsided. That was a great lesson you provided. You didn't know you'd be using it so soon, did you?
Yeah.
No.
See, we coach real stuff here. Thanks for jumping on, Chelsea. Let's get you going.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's a big one, huh?
That's scary.
People that forget that anger can be a motivator. It doesn't have to be like a roadblock, right?
Yeah. Anger can be a great thing for that energy. It gives you that adrenaline usually to get something done. And I love the word she used that I can, you know, do something with acting rather than reacting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And just paying attention to that.
Absolutely. Like that's one of the biggest things. I think that to me is the answer to the final with anybody who's in the recovery process is when you begin to critically think about the situation, the options, the scenarios. That's when you've reached that level of being across from addict to whatever.
Yeah.
When your critical thinking returns and you're able to process the whole story and see the outcomes for both. And then you choose whichever works best.
Because then you look at adjusting and being flexible and, you know, rather than just boom, react, like have some thinking behind it. Use some of that executive functioning in our brain to like think through some consequences and play the tape through and, you know, and make much better, more informed decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love it because there's many people who may not be in this exact same situation as Chelsea, but get blindsided or have some emotional trigger come about that need this. So thank you, Chelsea, for sharing. They need that feedback too, to apply in their own life. Absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, it's those kind of situations, I think, that when we try to handle them ourselves and, you know, like I said, the getting blindsided, when you get blindsided, that means that you are focused down the field at the game of play. And you get hit from behind.
Yeah, something comes from out of nowhere.
And you really can't prepare for it because you're trusting in your team. And more often than not, your team's going to help, you know, kind of guard your back. But sometimes the opponent's a little stronger, a little more tricky, a little more quick. And so we have to be aware that when we get hit, we got to evaluate what we're doing next.
Yeah.
That's why I love what Max Hall talked about when he said that he just jumped up and pretended like everything was fine, and it wasn't fine, but he had a lot he thought he would lose if he didn't.
Yeah.
And so that scarcity thought process kicks in.
Yeah.
Do you have another question?
Yes, I do. Let's see.
So I can get on these soapboxes and, go for hours.
This is a mom. I have a 17-year-old son who since 14 has been getting increasingly worse. I'm not sure how much more I can take, and I know there is more heartache to come before it gets better. He started drinking and smoking pot. He also vapes and chews tobacco. He's gone through counseling and it helped for a short time, but now he's spending large amounts of money, and I think he's experimenting with other drugs. He's also turned increasingly hostile towards me, swearing and screaming. My heart is broken. He was the nicest boy until this all started. What, if anything, is there I can do?
Okay. How old is he?
17.
And how long did she kind of mention when she first started seeing this?
Age 14.
Okay. So World According to Coach Blue here. And it was funny when I've used that before. Some people I've worked with are like, the blueisms. I'm like, yeah. Things I've noticed in all the years doing this.
There's patterns. And so you catch on to the patterns and you apply knowledge and good things come.
Absolutely. So what I've noticed in all this, on average, you go back to the year you first tried a drug or used anything, and you rewind the tape about 2 years and you do a little bit of soul searching, you find what I call the activating event. Something happened, something was experienced, something was witnessed that hurt. So at 14, right, when we started using it, started rewind the tape, age 12. So what was going on in his world at age 12? And most people will say, well, I had a great childhood. I don't have no idea.
Fine.
Everything was great. And then they say things like, well, we did move from California to Utah, or, at that age, I hear this a lot. Well, I was going to church, and then I started, not feeling like I belonged, or I started getting pressured into things, or, maybe a teacher or a mentor or something did something or said something wacky. Everyone's pain is different.
Yeah. And this is, I think, where people struggle the most, is because they compare it. Like
they do. Yeah.
Well, we moved, but everybody moves. And so I should have been just fine with it. It's not a big deal. But if you're not, you need to know that.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's mom and dad started fighting and arguing and things got more volatile, or there was a divorce.
Yeah.
Lots of people get divorces. Well, that's okay.
It still hurts.
If it hurts, it hurts.
And I'm glad you brought that up. When people compare pain, it's usually to the point of, well, I was never abused and I was never, beaten. So I have nothing. But it's like, you got to understand.
And they're still looking at what they think is bad pain.
Yeah.
And addressing what they think the world thinks is more difficult. But here's the issue,
right? It doesn't matter. And this is going to probably sting some ears, but it doesn't matter if there was sexual abuse, or if there was a teacher scolding you because you didn't know how to spell bacon in your spelling bee or at school. That pain is exactly the same, even though one on a Richter scale is going to register as more intense
for the general population.
The pain is the same.
Yeah. It's in the eye of the beholder.
Absolutely. And so we can't compare. And so when people start comparing their stories and this kind of stuff, I like to say, that's just a story. I don't really care about that. What I want to know is what happened, and what did you start to think that turned into a belief about yourself?
Yeah.
See, the funny thing about
taking in what somebody said to you and creating that as your new internal dialogue.
Yeah.
That causes so many issues.
Exactly.
Because again, people are not born thinking I suck and I'm stupid and I'm a low life. They take what people say or interpret how people think and then create this internal dialogue that causes much heartbreak.
So many issues. So here's the thing, right? Age 12, right? Something went down that moved him from being part of something, an industry, part of something, maybe a school, maybe a friend group, maybe an organization, something, and made him feel inferior, where he felt less than. It could be something so subtle to something very obvious.
And it can be something that he isn't even aware of, but needs to take some time. Or it could be something further back that built slowly on itself and maybe kind of collapsed at age 12.
And so here's the issue, right? most parents don't want to do that because at age 12, who's the primary provider, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's parents. And so we don't want to open up those wounds because that means we have to take some accountability. But here's the deal, parents. You're not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You have stewardship in the problem. We all do.
Yeah.
So don't ever feel like or fear intervention from counseling or from therapy because you're afraid that they're going to point out flaws.
Yeah.
If therapists do that, well, they're dumb, because my angle is you have stewardship in this, but it's not all your problem, right? Mm-hmm. So, and this is the thing too, right? Is, as our kids have a therapist and a recreational therapist as parents.
Yeah.
They still screw up all the time.
We still screw up.
I still screw up all the time. Yep. And so as much as like we want to be like, well, we are the best parents, we're not. No. We screw up all the time. So I know that when situations arise or when fear or anxieties kick in, some of our kids have some funny fears and some funny anxieties. And I'm like, we never taught you to do that.
Where did that come from?
Or they'll act a certain way, and I'll be like, we taught you better than that.
Yeah.
But guess what? They're kids.
Yeah.
And they're going to make mistakes. Guess what? We're parents. We're going to make mistakes.
We talked about it.
So I would start with about age 12 and to find out maybe if you're having a hard time connecting with him, do your own evaluation, but be very honest and true with yourself of what went on average. This isn't mm-hmm. at age 12 something happened. What I've seen more often than not is after something traumatic or after something that hurts or that doesn't land quite right, about 2 years after that is when you find your substance of choice.
And let's add to this. With teenagers, you have also found it's common that there's usually also a 2-year gap between when they first start using substances and mom and dad
before
or parents find
notice.
out.
Yeah.
So is that age 14 really when he started, or did he start at 12 and the activating event is age 10?
Age 10. That's the other thing. I'm glad you brought that up. It's true.
Yes.
More often than not. And this isn't just for teenagers. This is usually for everybody. Yeah. It takes about 2 years for us to really lean in and be like, what's going on? This is true with adults and pornography. Mm-hmm. This is true with adults and substance use.
Yeah. People usually can keep those things hidden and secret for a while. And then, they start messing up, or it's the abuse is getting worse. And so that things in other parts of their life start slipping.
Yeah. Yeah. And so really you got to be real with them. So counseling worked for a while.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to find out what worked with the counseling and what didn't.
And why it didn't.
A lot of times, and this, I don't know the counselor, so I'm not going to point fingers because to each his own, but mostly what I find is that it's easy to help someone feel good. I can make people feel great about themselves. But all that's doing is putting a Band-Aid on the real problem. The substance use he's using, and primarily, what'd she say? It was
pot, alcohol,
depressants. He struggles with depression. He's self-medicating right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. Why? Why does he feel better or feel normal when he's under the influence than when he's not? And it's funny when we get people in these situations where they don't want to look at medication because I don't want to take anything, but they'll go smoke weed and drink alcohol.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect there because, medication, even the substances, only take you halfway. Mm-hmm. They're looking for the euphoria and the quick fix, right?
Yeah.
Because if we have to go backwards and find out what went on at age 14 or what went on at age 12 or what went on at age 8, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, a little more challenging. And so the person that you choose needs to be trusted. So the issue is...
The other thing too is that often people will go to the first therapist that comes up on what's covered on my insurance. And it works because the kid tries it.
They'll go to Psychology Today, that one little app, and it has everybody.
And then all of a sudden the kid's like, this guy's a whack.
He's a weirdo.
Or I don't like him or whatever. And it's like, well, mom and dad or the kid, it's a $20 copay. So this is what we have. This is our only choice. No, you don't. Yeah. This is so important. If you find a therapist, if you find a counselor that it is not clicking with, or it did, and now it's not, keep going, find someone else. It is not your job to pay their bills because they're in network.
Yeah.
So maybe you're going to have to pay more, or you're going to have to reach out and find some other people. And it might be trying lots of different therapists to find out what works, but keep trying. It is worth it.
Absolutely. It's a big deal. And the reason why it's a big deal is because I know this might sound funny too, but it's not supposed to take forever. Okay. Mm-hmm. therapy and counseling shouldn't be forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the things that I like to do and to teach, especially kids, is that what they went through, you know, it's not the end all be all, but they've got to find out where it came from. It's a false belief that they've brought in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that created feelings that sucked and hurt that then a substance covers up. So we've got to go all the way back to, instead of, you know, how does that make you feel, which I think is the dumbest thing anyone can say as a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
to why are you thinking that? Help me understand why you think that.
Where's that thought process? What is the thought process?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if we can change their thinking and their outlook, it's going to change their feeling and their
Mm-hmm.
experiencing, which is going to change their method of self-soothing and coping. Yeah. But I'm guaranteeing you, if it's 14, you started noticing, he's been using since age 12. And if that's the case, then you need to open up that door into industry versus inferiority. Was he part of something big that then you noticed he wasn't? Right?
Yeah.
And then during the teenage years,
get kicked off a team. Did you change a school and he was part of a group of friends and now he's, you know, was flailing, trying to find another tribe or, you know, where
absolutely. Or like Marissa said, is it even earlier than that?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's initiative versus guilt, right? Maybe he feels guilty over something at age 8, if it's that young, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw him stop taking initiative, stop doing things with purpose. So there's a lot to this.
Yeah. Another point I'd like to bring up before we end is I think a lot of parents, because they think, oh, the kid's got a problem, get him into therapy and not look at how am I responding to this situation?
Mm-hmm.
Because parents and how they respond is huge on if that child is going to continue using or not, or feel like you're a safe place to open up and talk to. Mostly when kids start using at a young age, most parents react out of panic and fear, and that is never really a good reaction.
No.
That doesn't usually bring about good change. So finding maybe some counseling and therapy for yourself, maybe some parenting classes, like reaching out and finding out, how should I respond? You know, it's hard not to respond like in a panic when you find out your son's smoking weed and, oh no, I just know where this leads and this is going to happen. And oh my gosh, my perfect child is, you know.
About 2 years ago, it's been about 2 years ago, Marissa and I got a call from a friend of ours who said, hey, I'm having problems with my son. He's just turned 16. I think he needs to go to treatment. And they explained a little bit to us. And I'm like, no, do not send him to treatment.
Yes.
So I'm not an advocate for youth treatment at all.
And they had some serious
problems with
which
him.
Most situations it would be, get them to wilderness therapy, get them to residential therapy, or what are they called? Treatment centers that are boarding schools.
Yeah.
That would be absolute final last option on my list. And we worked in youth treatment, and this is why we do not
once they get put in there. I mean,
option.
there's so much. I mean, I know that there's some that it works, but man, I've worked in a lot of them, and I'm telling you, I don't see the outcomes that are great. We talked to some of our young folks that we worked with back then, still as adults, and they're still like, that really screwed me up.
Oh yeah, I mean, have
Paris
many
Hilton,
of them,
for that matter, just did a thing on there.
Go watch.
Yep,
Provo Canyon School, just down the road from the treatment center we worked at, and it's real.
You know, and I love those experiences, and I love all the people I worked with. But man, I think that there's a more excellent way to do this. So I said, well, before you do that, let's get some eyes on what's really going on. Bring him in. Mm-hmm. And so they all came in, and I remember first working with him, and he was super quiet.
Yeah.
But the coolest part about this were the parents were willing to go the distance.
To do something more.
They were willing to do something more.
They were willing to invest a lot of time. A lot. It took a lot more hands-on and hard work.
Yep.
And often parents want to just like the rest of the world, want an easy fix. Send them away, have someone else fix it, and send back my child that was sweet and kind.
Yeah. Yeah. It works sometimes, you guys. It doesn't all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's here nor there. Okay. You're going to do what's best for your family. But I said, bring him to us first. So they came in and we talked with him, and I started seeing him very regularly every week on the money. And I started realizing real fast that he had some spectrum issues. He had some stuff that was processing. And the coolest part about that was once we realized that's what we were dealing with, it wasn't so much behavior as it was the way that we all approached him.
Yep.
And once the parents learned that,
and how to parent
him, and it's going to be different than the other kids.
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, like, the family took off.
Well, and it wasn't just that, because recognizing that there was a processing disorder, you went back to his educational stuff, and he was having issues.
He was having huge problems in school, which was causing stress at home because this kid would get in trouble all the time, and no one knew how to work with him. And it was awesome because I'm like, you know, he hated school, and for a kid on the spectrum, absolutely,
school doesn't really work.
But he's not like one of these spectrum kids that he's very high functioning.
Yes.
In fact, he's so high functioning that he started focusing in on a trade and a skill early on, working with his hands, doing welding and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And he was so good at it. I could see this artist in this little kid coming out, and I'm like, we gotta lean into this.
Encourage and lean into those talents.
And then we did. We went back. We did a psychological testing. I joined the family. We petitioned the school and said, this is what needs to happen. The school gave them crap. And we're like, no, this is happening. Yeah. I don't think parents realize how much they have in school.
Oh, you have a lot more pull.
Yeah. So long story short, they ended up getting, again, his dad, hats off to his dad, stepped out of his own comfort zone, approached some people he knows and said, hey, my son, he's a welder. You know, you guys weld, you know, what do you think? And they're like, well, bring him in. So now his dad, who's like, man, I know my son's had issues in the past, put his neck out there to get his son this little, like, you know, day job, just, you know, 1 day a week, welding these things for cars. Right.
Yeah.
He took off. And so much so, we said, hey, look, he's doing this so well. What if the bosses allowed him to do this as work diversion too?
Yep.
Not work diversion.
School credit.
What is it called?
Like an internship.
Yeah, internship, I think, in school. School gave him a little bit of flack, but
they didn't want to do it. They want to stick him in these regular cookie cutter classes.
Which would have killed him.
And you fought. The
parents fought.
And there are services for people like this. And for parents to understand, if you feel like there's an issue with your child, if you go to the school and say, hey, I'd like to have my child tested for a processing disorder or hearing or speech, the school has 90 days to get all of that assessment done and start implementing a treatment. If the teacher says, hey, I think this kid has a problem, it could take forever to get that done. But as a parent, you have the right to go in, and they have to move on that. So please utilize that.
Yeah. So the thing is too, is that there was one time his mom went in after he'd gotten in trouble for something, I'm sorry, but very petty and stupid. It was kind of a power move. Mm-hmm. And when teachers and those guys, they don't know how to work with these kids as well.
Yeah.
They try to flex. You know, we have an adult friend that does this, and if you flex on him, he's going to fight back. And then you look at that as, well, he's just a defiant and you need to go to jail.
Yeah.
His mom walked in and looked at him and knew immediately that it was like, this is what we've been talking about. They're misreading what he's going through, what he's doing. And she called them out. And this is a woman who is kind of like, I'm just going to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, no. What that did, I'm going to get emotional again. What that did for this young man when he saw his mom walk in and advocate for him. Yeah. She didn't give him kudos for being kind of a knucklehead, but said, no, this is not how you treat this kid. Yeah. You know, we submitted paperwork on what he needs and you guys failed.
Yeah.
That young man took off even more. They got him in.
He not only got the services he needed, but he got the understanding that mom loves me.
She gets it. She knows.
She's advocating for me. Mm-hmm. And that is such a big thing for teenagers.
Absolutely. So then senior year rolls around. Now he's finally caught up, and mom's done a lot of hard work with him. Dad's done a lot of hard work with him. He's still rough around the edges. He still has some ups and downs, as everyone's going to, but they roll with the punches, right? And then he gets into this MAT class where
they do a trade.
MATC, where they do a trade.
A technical school.
He's going to be a professional by the time he's finished.
He just graduated.
He just graduated high school. And I read her post. And my gosh, for a family who didn't know how this was going to turn out. But now to see this young man step up to the plate, so much so that I need to tell you that there was a time even when I started getting kind of sidetracked with other things, he called me out once. And he's like, dude, you said you were going to be here and do this and you weren't. It was going to help me with the trailer years ago. And he's like, my time's kind of important. And I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever. This
advocating
kid
for himself.
Advocating for himself. And after reading her post a couple of days ago, I'm like, that is the coolest thing. And so
proud of that.
What kid. I'm saying is, are you ready to lean into it? And if you are, then it's not just him that needs the help. It's the whole family. And you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything right. You just did. And that's okay. So
but now it's time to learn and educate and fight,
His substance use is suppressing something
and
deeper.
It's a sign and symptom of something else. And if you only focus on, oh no, he's drinking, oh no, he's smoking pot, like you're going to miss everything because those are just red flags and there's something deeper that needs to be addressed.
And sometimes you need an advocate. And so, reach out for help. We can go into this a lot more. I know we're over time. In fact, maybe this is a good thing. If any of you out there are struggling with addiction, with mental health, with issues of trauma, Coach Blue's a licensed mental health therapist, substance use disorder counselor, and certified sober and recovery coach. Yeah. So no matter where you are in the country, no matter where you are in the world, if you need help, we're here to help. Yeah. We have office hours by which you can schedule time. It's all private pay, but you can get on there and take a look at it. If you need anything for you or your family, I'm more than willing to help. At a time that's open. Yeah. Marissa is a recreational therapist. She is an expert in substance use disorders. She does all kinds of assessments and a lot of things and resources that you may not know is out there. She can help guide you to. And so don't be nervous about reaching out. We're very real people. Yep. We're very willing to help.
We do this every week for free, and you guys can get on and ask the questions you need. I mean,
so much so that we should tell them that because you and the girls are now going to be doing swim lessons every morning.
Got a new job for this
We'll
summer.
Be switching one-on-one with Coach Blue from Thursdays at noon to Wednesdays at 1.
So Wednesdays at 1, I will get it changed on our calendar and our website. I'm sorry that we've had to change this a couple different times.
That's life.
That's life. And I'm excited to teach swim lessons again. Haven't done that for a while.
So instead of waiting until tomorrow to post this, as soon as this finalizes, I'll be putting this one onto the podcast. And please keep the Fitzgerald family in your prayers. Let's do that proxy run for Dennis, for Richie, and for Kevin. Post below. I would love for you to post below, and just maybe we'll call it, Sean Astin's running for third. We'll call it, running 3 or something.
Yeah.
Right. # run for 3. It's been a little bit of an emotional one today. I didn't realize we'd go that deep.
Yeah.
Athletes, I want to thank you all for listening and joining. I want to thank Radio Ronan, the Radio Ronan Network, Chunga, Joshua, Spencer, and Chandler for all the great stuff they put out there. Please listen to the other podcasts. Again, Sensei KP and the Warrior Within podcast is on Radio Ronan. The New Day podcast, Greg's Guide to New Music. There's so many out there. Go check them out as well. And until next time, go turn that mess